Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Daniel Roman for winteriscoming.net, and I am stoked today to be here with Robert Strange, who probably looks not super familiar to you if you've been watching the Wheel of Time season 3 because he looked very, very different there, where he played the Eel Finn in the season finale. Robert, how are you doing?
Very well, thanks. What an introduction.
Well, I can't lie. I was so excited when I found out I'd be able to talk to you because that is, it's such an iconic part of these books, this character that you played. Can you walk me through kind of how you landed this part? Like, did you know when you auditioned or when you were contacted for it what you would be playing?
Short answer, no. No, I had no idea. I got an audition tape that came through for something that I could tell was a code name, which is quite common. The
Mhm.
names of things often get changed. But at that point, I'd watched season one and I think season two, and I just had my suspicions. I also knew I'd been recommended for something by Nick Dudman, who was head of prosthetics.
Okay.
And then this came in, and I managed to kind of put the pieces together. But that said, the actual audition was also all the words were changed, all the names were changed. Um, so I had no idea really that it was an eelfin. I just knew it was some kind of fantastical extra dimensional being with poise and power. So I sent the tape off, and then I found out I got the role, and then the details started to come in thick and fast, and that's where the real work began.
Awesome. And so when you say the real work began, what does that entail? Like, did you have to do a lot of prep? What was it like actually getting into the costume? Like, how long did that take? Where did you go from there?
Yeah. Great question, and I could talk about it for a whole hour, but I mean, it's like before even the costume and the makeup and anything, I wanted to do as much research as possible, because I was aware how much this means to so many people.
Mhm.
I actually, looking back, I don't think I really had a clue like how much it means to so many people. Now I'm starting to really get that sense, but I know how huge this world is and how many fans there are, so I wanted to absorb as much of it as I could. I tried to read all the books in time. It wasn't enough time to read 14 books, so I read as much as
Yeah.
I could, but I did have to jump ahead to the Eelfinn moment. So I absorbed all the lore, all the information. What I think is so brilliant about Robert Jordan's world is that he gives you these worlds that feel fully realized, they feel fully imagined with so much detail, but at the same time, there was nothing at all. You end up with more
Yeah.
questions than you started with about like what actually are these things and what are they doing. So I
Yeah.
tried to absorb it all. I tried to answer as many questions as I had, and then there's a certain point where you just have to kind of let it go. I did some research on foxes. I wanted to have a sense of fox movement and just the energy of foxes. Um, but then actually a lot of that I had to adapt because the costume I was in was quite defining in terms of the actual physicality, which I
Yeah.
loved because so often in all the creatures I play, I'm a soldier or in the mud or in the dirt or wearing anything at all, to be honest. So it was so fun to wear this like incredibly intricate, detailed, beautiful leather work and the skirt and the boots. So that really defined the movement and the poise and the posture. And then I also did a lot of work with Naomi, who was the dialect coach, who I wanted to bring
Mm.
in as much old tongue as I could because these beings are older than the wheel, potentially. So I wanted
Yeah.
to bring in as much of that sense as possible. I actually asked them to translate almost all the dialogue, and then on the day we recorded it in both so that they could choose. They
Oh,
could choose
cool.
which lines they wanted to keep in old tongue and which in English. So yeah, and she helped me with the accent as well, so that it felt like a new accent for the show as well. So it was all a huge collaborative process, which is the way it always is with any acting, but with the creature work especially, which is
Yeah.
the part of the job I love the most. Yeah,
Yeah. And so you've done quite a few creatures at this point. You were also in The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, right?
dude.
So
Yeah.
how was aside from, the costume itself, was there anything about playing this character that was maybe different or different challenges than other characters you've played?
Um, I mean, in some ways, so I played nine different characters in Rings of Power. Again, it's the beauty
Wow.
of prosthetics, is you can just put on a new face. But my main one was Gloog in season two, who was
Yeah.
our poor orc with an arc. And in some ways, Glug and the Eel Finn couldn't really be more different. um, but I suppose I approach it in the same way, which is the same way I'd approach a lot of things, which is even though it's fantastical and you've got to come up with a thing that doesn't exist, I still want to approach it from the same way I would approach like a play or a Shakespeare character or something, which is like, what do they want? How do they exist? What are they doing in the moment? What are they trying to get to? I suppose an extra challenge with the Eelfinn was, if you're playing a vampire or an orc, you're playing something that is not of our world. The
Yeah.
Eelfinn are already not of the world that we're in. So that there
Yeah.
was this extra layer that we wanted to create, that we really wanted to kind of come across, that they just don't belong in any of what we've seen so far in the Wheel of Time. But they also have this familiarity with the fox den smell. They have this real threat to them, but they're also quite seductive and intriguing. It was a lot of fun to play with, to be honest, because I mean, the possibilities were limitless, really.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think we're just about out of time. Quick question. How many hours did it take you to get in the suit?
Over 7.
Wow.
And it took
Okay.
2 hours to take off because all the fur was directly stuck to my skin.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
My
Worth
gosh.
it,
It
worth it.
doesn't come easy being the eel fin. Well, Robert, thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you, and congratulations on season 3 and the finale being out.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to meet you.